I'm going to show you how I make my fine, thin, curly hair look thicker and less see-through. Meaning I'm not going to focus so much on the volume of my hair, but just this part, the length, and making it less see-through and thin looking. Now, lower density hair often struggles with volume and can look thin. This is that see-through look that I'm talking about. And since we can't really grow more hair, aside from trying expensive medical treatments and hair transplants and stuff, we can do a couple of things to make our hair appear thicker. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do that and why I make the little tweaks in my routine to make my hair look fuller. Now, before I get into the styling tips, there are two things that you can do before to make sure that your hair appears thicker. The first is to make sure that you don't have too many layers in your hair, because the more layered your hair is, the thinner it gets throughout the length. And sometimes just having long hair can make it look really thin and see-through. This is something that I have struggled with. I wanted long hair, and every time I look at pictures of my long hair from the back, I'm like, ugh, that just doesn't look good. And so I've kind of stopped letting my hair grow past like this level here, like it's getting there now. I'm ready for a haircut, because it's just, the ends just look really thin. They really start to thin out and it looks really see-through. You can see right through my hair, like it's just like a couple of little curls. So to me, I don't like the way that looks. But also having a lot of layers will make the middle part here look very thin as well. This part will look full, nice and full, and this part will look a little bit thinner. So I have learned that if I do not cut layers into my hair at all, this all has the same amount of hair and it looks much thicker. You can see through it a lot less. It just looks like fuller hair. So now I don't cut any layers in my hair except for front, maybe some face framing layers in the front, but I do blunt cuts. Even though my hair is long, it's a blunt cut that I do now, and it just looks so much thicker than before. And the one thing that I lose with that is the volume up here. So I'm sacrificing volume up in the root area to have the length of my hair look a little bit thicker. So that's something you have to ask yourself. Would you rather have more volume up top and thinner ends, or the other way around where you have less volume and a thicker length? So if you have shorter hair, then it's a little bit easier because you don't have so much length to work with. You can cut a couple of layers in and achieve kind of both. But when your hair starts to get longer, it's really, really tricky to find a good balance with that. The longer your hair is, the heavier it is, the less volume you're gonna have naturally up top. So if you're not cutting any layers into your hair, you're just not gonna have that much volume up on top. So I prefer to have thicker looking length and a little bit less volume on top. That's what makes me happy. So that is a personal decision that is up to you. So that's the first thing you can do, is make sure you have the right haircut for your hair type and you're not cutting too many layers to make it look thin. The second thing is to make sure that you're clarifying on a regular basis. I always talk about how I use really strong shampoos and I clarify my hair all the time, and it's because when my hair has buildup, it looks really thin. Buildup really weighs down my hair, and that just was gonna make it look thinner throughout the length of the hair. So make sure you're clarifying regularly. Make sure that your shampoo that is a clarifying shampoo is actually a clarifying shampoo, because a lot of curly hair shampoos are just not that cleansing. And so even if you might be getting a good lather, it could be really moisturizing and still depositing more conditioning agents onto your hair, which causes buildup. So I encourage you to clarify on a regular basis. I clarify at least once a week, sometimes more often, because that's what works for my hair. Low porosity hair, fine hair, it gets buildup so quickly and easily. That may not be the case for you. If you've got higher porosity hair, you've got really dry hair, then you won't need to clarify as often as I do. So just make sure you're clarifying enough for your situation. Okay, the next thing is you don't want to use too much product or too much moisture. They kind of go hand in hand, because most products we're gonna apply on our hair add moisture to our hair. That's naturally how curly products are designed. And that is what keeps our frizz down, right? Adding in the moisture so we can encourage those curl clumps and those ringlets to hold and not just frizz out. In addition to hold, which will hold them in place. But the moisture is what's really reducing the frizz. The problem is if you have too much of that or too much product, then again, build up, weighing down the hair, it looks really stringy. This is something that took me a while to figure out, but anytime I just overdo it a little bit, my hair looks really stringy and it just looks much more see-through than usual. So I have to be very careful because my hair does not tolerate a lot of product. So when I'm thinking about layering my products and what I want to put under my main stylers, I have to keep things very, very simple and eliminate as much as possible. So I will style with a maximum of 2 products, a leave-in of some sort if I find that my hair needs the moisture, or some sort of volumizing or thickening product. I can't do both because then it's just too much for my hair. And then I will layer on top of that my main holding styler. I always use a styling product that has a strong hold, because that's what will hold my hairstyle for a long time. But I'm going to talk about the level of hold a little later in this video. However, those are the two products. I choose either a leave-in or a volumizing / thickening product, and then my main hold styler. And that's it. That's all I can do. I can spray a hairspray or something after, that doesn't really count. But if I do any more than that, if I use a curl cream, if I layer like 3 products, it's just super, super stringy and it looks really thin. So for this wash day, I am going to use a very, very lightweight leave-in conditioner because my hair, I just washed it, but I washed it upside down, and so it's a little bit tangled. So I normally wouldn't do this. I very rarely use leave-in conditioner, but when I do this type of styling for videos, my hair gets tangled when I wash it. So just doing a couple of sprays just so that I can run the brush through my hair. And so my main goal here right now is detangling. I'm not trying to moisturize my hair because my hair doesn't need any moisture, but that is something that you have to decide. If your hair needs moisture, I would stick with as lightweight as possible moisture. A nice thin lightweight leave-in conditioner is going to be suitable. If your hair is drier and needs more moisture, then you can go in with a curl cream. And if it has a little bit of hold in it, that's great too. A curl cream with like a soft hold is good. And then I am going to be using a thickening product. This is the Wow Dream Cocktail Fine Thin Hair. I don't even know what like the main name of this product is. It says Dream Cocktail Carbon Fused Fine Thin Hair. I guess it's the cocktail. I think they have a couple of different cocktails. I'm not sure. So anyway, this is a kind of like a serum that thickens your hair, makes it look fuller. And since I'm going for thickness, less see-through hair, I'm not necessarily going for volume, they're not the same thing, then I'm going for one of these. Now, like I said, I wouldn't pair both of these together, but because I needed to detangle my hair, I am. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this. There are some other brands that make products like this. I think Curlsmith has a thickening lotion. I have not tried it, so I don't know how well it works, but this one was sent to me by, I believe, Derm Store, and it works, so I'm gonna use it. I do think that this has a silicone in it, FYI, for those of you who are Curly Girl Method followers. So I'm not really getting this in the root area. It specifically says not to get it in the root area on the directions of this product. And again, I'm not really going for volume. I'm going for more just thickness in the hair to make it look less see-through. And this specific styling product is activated by heat, which is fine because I'm going to diffuse anyway. But if you are air drying, then make sure that the one that you're using will work with you air drying. Because if I just air dried my hair with this one, it probably wouldn't make that much of a difference. So when you're thinking about like volumizing versus thickening products, remember that volume is just lifting our hair. So you can use like volumizing foams and volumizing sprays and such like that. That's just going to give you a little bit more lift up here, but it doesn't necessarily make your hair look thicker because you can still see through it. Like you can have stringiness and lift. See how you can see through it right now? But if it's thicker, it looks like more hair, and it's like less, see how it's like less see-through when I put more hair like that? That's what I mean. So a thickening product is going to make your strands look thicker than they are. Like the individual strands are going to look fatter than they are versus adding volume to the hair. Now the next thing is adding my hold styler. Now, like I said earlier, I usually use a hard hold styler because I prefer the longevity that it gives me. I would rather wash my hair, style it with a hard hold styler, and not touch it again until the next time I wash my hair. I don't want to refresh. I don't want to touch my hair. I don't want to fuss with it, right? So I want a styler that's going to really last. It's going to hold up in the humidity outside here in Florida, and that is really going to hold my clumps together for as many days as possible. So that's a hard hold styler. But if we're going for more thickness in the hair, hard hold actually doesn't really help with that because it makes your hair look a little bit thinner. The clumps are a little bit thicker when you use them. They last a lot longer, so there's a lot less frizz, and it can weigh down your hair, especially if it's fine. Hard hold styling products weigh down my hair, but I still prefer the longevity that I get out of my style. So if you're going for thickness, I would opt for light to medium hold. I'm gonna go with medium hold because I just hate light hold. If I put a light hold product in my hair and I walked outside, it would just be completely ruined within an hour. So I'm not gonna waste my time with light hold. But if you like light hold products, you have a nice curl cream with a light hold in it or a gel or something like that, then feel free to give that a try. The thing to keep in mind is because we're going for thickness And that full look, it is going to frizz more than if you used a harder hold product. And that is okay because frizz is gonna make our hair look thicker. We want a little bit of frizz. We want some functional frizz. It's going to give us the result that we're going for. So we don't need to shy away from all the frizz and be 100% frizz free, because the less frizz you have, the thinner your hair looks. That's just the honest truth. So some frizz is okay. Don't want you to be scared of frizz. All right, so I'm gonna go in with a medium hold product, and for this wash, I'm using the Total Control cream from Evolve. This is a styling cream. It is not a curl cream. This is not moisturizing. It is specifically for volumizing thin hair. So this, it says strong hold, but it's not a strong hold. This is a medium hold. Creates soft, touchable volume with shine. So this is really intended for a volumizing routine, but because it's a medium hold and it's giving me the same kind of goals, I'm gonna use it for this routine. So I'm gonna use this just like I would with my gel that I would be using. And I'm just gonna apply maybe about a dime to nickel size amount on each side. And again, being very careful that I don't want to apply too much product to my hair, because that is what makes it look really stringy, especially the ends. So I have a little less hair on this side of my head, so I put a little bit, slightly less product in there. And then these are my problem areas here, so I'm just gonna make sure that I get some good coverage. Don't want that part to be excessively frizzy. All right, the next thing is to create my clumps, and I want to create smaller clumps, but I don't want them to be too skinny. I definitely don't want them to be very large clumps like you would get if you were using a brush to style, especially the brush handle. Those clumps are way too big. It's gonna make our hair look really thin, because instead of having 50 clumps, you'll have 10 clumps, and then they'll be really heavy. They'll pull your hair down and it will look a little bit more see-through. Now I'm actually going to use the original bounce curl brush that has the original ridges. This is not the defined one, so this is not the one that makes the really small clumps, but I find that these clumps are not too big. They're good for my hair, so I think either brush would work, but I am using a brush because it helps to distribute the product more evenly, and it helps to create the smaller clumps like all in one step. So I'm just going to style with this brush really quickly. And if I do see any large clumps, I will just break them up, but I don't have that problem really with this brush. See, like this is creating small clumps. These are not large at all. Versus if I were to use the Denman brush, right? Look at these clumps now, but if I took this and I went in with the Denman brush and I did this, look at how much bigger, how much thicker these clumps are compared to these, right? This is going to have less frizz, but we're going to have more see-through. Like it's gonna be more see-through. So I wanna make sure, let's split them up. See, this is another thing I can do. See, that brush is so good. I wanna split them up. Okay, so that's fine. And I'm just gonna brush through the rest of my hair. All right, so now that I have brushed product through my hair, I'm going to scrunch and microplop with my hair towel to remove the excess water and product. This really helps to prevent that stringy look in your hair, so it can look a little bit thicker. And if I see any clumps, any large clumps, I will just split them up right now before my hair starts drying, so that I'm not really causing any frizz. The next thing that is key is diffusing my hair. There's just no argument, no discussion here, no question about how much fuller and thicker my hair looks when I diffuse versus when I air dry. Air drying leaves my hair really flat and stringy, very, very thin looking. Diffusing, however, is the complete opposite. Not only do I get the volume that I'm looking for, but my hair looks thicker, fuller, a lot less see-through. So I always diffuse. If you're really against diffusing, but you want to have that thicker look, I suggest at least diffusing for a couple of minutes to set the cast, and then you can air dry the rest of the way. But at least this way you're removing the weight of the water and products in your hair so that it can dry with less of that weight, and it will hold a little bit more of that volume and fullness that you can get when you diffuse. All right, so I finished diffusing about 5 minutes ago and I let it settle a little bit. And the next step is to scrunch and fluff. So if you have a cast, you want to make sure you scrunch it out almost completely because the cast is going to make it look stringy and see-through. And then you want to fluff it up as much as possible to make it look fuller. Because I used a medium hold styling cream, I really don't have a cast, so I don't have much to scrunch out. So I'm just going to fluff it. It's still about, I would say it's like 95% dry, but it's dry enough. And I can just soften it. Any of the ones that look like they've got a slight cast. I don't really get a cast anyway. It's hard for me to get a cast. Now this is going to cause a little bit of frizz, right? Removing the cast, fluffing it up. But again, that's what we want to make our hair look less see-through. So we can see I have fluffed it up. I can split up clumps if I want to, make it look more fuller and voluminous. I don't have to. That will, like I said, create a little bit more frizz, but I don't mind it. You don't have to do that. It's just going to look clumpier and more piecey. So it's up to you how you want your curls to look. But I can tell already, just compared to the last few wash days that I've done, my hair looks bigger, definitely thicker. Like I can't see the wall behind me through my hair like I normally can, especially on this side. Got a couple of spots down here where I can see through a little bit and right here, but I can't see through this. I mean, normally I can see through all of it, right? This section here where there's nothing covering my shoulders start here. So here I can usually see right through parts of my hair to the background, whatever's in the background. But that's not the case, especially on this side. Like it feels like I've got a lot more hair than I do. I think that thickening lotion, that thickening serum that I use really does make a big difference in my hair. So here is what the back looks like. And this is one of the parts that you can really see usually at the ends down here, very see-through, especially when I use a gel. But when I style like this, it is not as thin and see-through looking as it usually is. So I really like the way that these results make my hair look a little bit thicker. Now you can always pair these strategies to make your hair look thicker along with volumizing strategies. I've talked a little bit about how there's some overlap, but they're not really the same thing. However, you can mix and match, pair some of the strategies for volumizing and thickening your hair and make your hair look even bigger than you'd like. So if you're interested in more volumizing strategies, then you can check out this video next, all about my top volumizing tips and tricks for more voluminous curly hair. And if there's any sections that are like excessively frizzy, like, I mean, this doesn't bother me, but I know some people are just really nitpicky. You can just come in and finger coil any of the pieces and add a little more styling product if you want, maybe just a hint of watered down gel to any areas that you want to make sure are defined. I'll do it with like the top layer. I'm not going to fuss with the underside. I don't really care what's going on down there. It's going to get ruined anyway. But if the top layer is like really frizzy, then I'll come in and I'll grab them and I'll just finger coil in some watered down gel, and that's usually all I need to do. All right, so now that you know how to style your hair to make it look thicker and less see-through, make sure that you're using the right products for this goal. So I suggest you watch this video next. It's called The Best Curly Hair Products for Fine, Thin Curly Hair. And you'll learn which products are best for adding volume and definition. Just click the video you see on your screen and I'll see you there.